Bitcoin has received a lot of attention, not all of it positive. So, is it internet money, a new currency, a parallel financial system, or a new way of life? The answer is yes, it is all of that and more. Begin by learning the fundamentals of what it is, where it comes from, and what it does. Bitcoins may be purchased in the same way that ice cream and concert tickets are, but you can't store them beneath your mattress, in your piggy bank, or your regular bank account. You should pay special care to safeguard your Bitcoins after you have them. Bitcoins are created not by Gothic columned mint, but by a complex digital calculation process known colloquially as mining. Welcome to Moneymaker, guys. Moneymaker is a channel dedicated to helping others become financially independent through cryptocurrency trading and investing. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel for the finest value content. Also, switch on post alerts to remain up to date. Bitcoin is an intriguing type of currency that emerged in response to economic issues associated with centralized currency. Because Bitcoin is not a tangible form of cash, it might not be easy to comprehend how it works. It's not that difficult. Bitcoin is a type of digital money that was created in 2009 during the financial crisis. Lehman Brothers declared the biggest bankruptcy in history in September of 2008. The fall of this behemoth triggered a global financial catastrophe. Bitcoin was born a few months later. Bitcoin, in its most basic form, is online money that is not backed by a bank. Bitcoin, often known as a cryptocurrency, virtual currency, or digital currency, is a virtual form of money. It's similar to an online form of cash. You can use it to buy items and services, but not many stores accept it currently, and several nations have outright outlawed it. However, some businesses are beginning to see its rising clout. The tangible Bitcoins shown in photographs are a curiosity. They'd be worthless if the secret codes weren't printed inside. Since then, the blockchain has grown into a distinct idea, with many blockchains constructed using similar encryption techniques. Because of this history, the terminology might be perplexing. The term blockchain is sometimes used to refer to the original Bitcoin blockchain. At times, it relates to blockchain technology as a whole or to a single blockchain, such as the one that runs Ethereum. The fundamentals of blockchain technology are, thankfully, simple. A blockchain is made up of a single chain of discrete pieces of information that are organized chronologically. In theory, this information may be any string of ones and zeros, which means it might be emails, contracts, land titles, marriage certificates, or bond transactions. In principle, any form of contract between two parties may be made on a blockchain as long as both sides agree on the contract. There is no requirement for a third party to be engaged in any transaction due to this. This opens up a universe of possibilities such as peer-to-peer financial goods such as loans or decentralized savings and checkings accounts. Banks or any middleman are irrelevant. While Bitcoin's present purpose is to be both a store of value and a payment system, there is nothing to suggest that it cannot be used in such a fashion in the future. Nevertheless, consensus would be required to add these systems to Bitcoin. The Ethereum project's major objective is to provide a platform where these smart contracts may occur, therefore establishing a new universe of decentralized financial goods without any middlemen and the cost and potential data breaches that come with it. This adaptability has piqued governments and private companies. In fact, some analysis predict that blockchain technology will be the most influential part of the Bitcoin frenzy. The Bitcoin network may be accessed and used by anybody, regardless of nationality, gender, religion, species, or political affiliation. This opens up a world of possibilities for the Internet of Things. We may see systems in the future where self-driving taxis or Uber cars have their own blockchain wallets. The passenger would send Bitcoin to the automobile, and it would not move until the money was received. The car would detect when it's running low on gasoline and utilize its wallet to assist a fill-up. A blockchain is sometimes known as a distributed ledger, highlighting the essential distinction between this technology and a well-kept Word document. The blockchain of Bitcoin is distributed, which means it is open to the public. This means that the record is public, but it also means that sophisticated procedures for updating the blockchain ledger are in place. Because there is no central authority to keep track of all Bitcoin transactions, participants do it for themselves by producing and validating blocks of transaction data. Bitcoin is complicated to manipulate despite, or instead because it's entirely open. Because Bitcoin has no physical existence, it cannot be safeguarded by keeping it in a safe or burying it in the woods. Mining is the mechanism that keeps this trustless public ledger running. A network of miners who record these transactions on the blockchain underpins the network of Bitcoin users who exchange the cryptocurrency among themselves. A contemporary computer can easily record a series of transactions, but mining is tough because Bitcoin software makes the operation artificially time-consuming. People might fake transactions without the extra complexity to enrich themselves or bankrupt others. They might register a fake transaction on the blockchain and then build so many minor transactions on top of it that untangling becomes impossible. This technique is meant to ensure that Bitcoin mining incentives continue until around 2140. Once all Bitcoin has been mined from the code and all halvings have been completed, miners will be rewarded by fees charged to the network users. Healthy competition, it is hoped, would keep rates affordable. This approach raises Bitcoin's stock-to-flow ratio while decreasing inflation until it reaches zero. Following the third halving of May 11, 2020, the reward for each block produced is currently 6.25 Bitcoins. The network of miners who are spread around the globe and have no personal or professional ties get the most recent batch of transaction data. They put the data through a cryptographic algorithm which creates a hash, which is a string of numbers and characters that validates the authenticity of the information but does not expose the information itself. The Bitcoin network can immediately check the authenticity of a block thanks to hash technology. It would take an inordinate amount of time to go over the whole ledger to ensure that the individual mining the most recent batch of transactions hasn't done anything unusual. The hash from the previous block appears within the current block. That hash would change if the smallest information in the previous block were changed. Even if the change occurred 20,000 blocks back in the chain, the V of that block would trigger a cascade of new hashes alerting the network. The mined block will be broadcast to the network in order to receive confirmations, which will take another hour or so, if not much longer, to process. Blocks are not hashed in their whole, but rather in smaller chunks known as Merkle trees. Bitcoin's algorithm will need a longer or shorter string of zeros depending on the type of activity on the network, altering the difficulty to achieve a rate of one new block every 10 minutes. The current difficulty is about 6.379 trillion as of October 2019, up from 1 in 2009. As the name implies, mining Bitcoin has gotten substantially more complex since the cryptocurrency's inception. Mining is time-consuming and expensive, necessitating the use of large, expensive rigs and a large amount of electricity to operate them, and it's a battleground, because there's no telling which nonce will work. When a new block is mined, the successful miner earns a large amount of freshly minted coins. The prize will be halved every 210,000 blocks, or roughly every 4 years until it reaches zero. At that moment, all 21 million Bitcoins will have been mined, and miners will be completely reliant on fees to keep the network running. When Bitcoin was first introduced, the entire supply of the cryptocurrency was expected to be 21 million tokens. That may be the end of Bitcoin, but even a so-called 51% assault would most likely not allow bad actors to reverse past transactions, since the proof of work requirement makes the process so time-consuming. Bitcoin exchanges like Coinbase bring market players from all over the world together to purchase and sell Bitcoins. These exchanges have been increasingly popular, as has Bitcoin's popularity in recent years, while also posing regulatory, legal, and security issues, with governments across the globe seeing cryptocurrencies in various ways, as currency, as asset class, or any number of other categories. The rules regulating the purchase and sale of Bitcoins are complicated and ever-changing. The fear of theft and other criminal behaviors may be more relevant for Bitcoin exchange participants than the possibility of shifting governmental supervision. While the Bitcoin network has been relatively safe throughout its existence, individual exchanges are not always the same. Mt. Gox, which dominated the Bitcoin transaction sector until 2014, is perhaps the most well-known exchange heist. Early that year, the site revealed the possible theft of around 850,000 BTC, valued at over $450 million at that time. Mt. Gox declared bankruptcy and closed its doors. To this day, most of the stolen reward, which would today be worth around $8 billion, has not been recovered. Some individuals like Bitcoin because the government or banks do not govern it. People can also spend their Bitcoins in a relatively anonymous manner. Despite all transactions logged, no one would know which account number belonged to you until you informed them. Elon Musk, the world's richest man, stated his support for Bitcoin in an online conversation with social media followers in January 2021. Well, this concludes our discussion. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. We hope you found this session useful. Please share your thoughts in the comment box below, subscribe to receive more material like this, and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to hit the like button and the bell icon right beside to be alerted of new videos.